Dream Warriors, thank you for joining me. We are gearing up. We're winding down here, but we're not really winding down. We're sprinting towards the finish line because it is day 30 of the 31 Days of Dread. If you're not familiar with it, 31 Days of Dread is the Dream Warriors podcast annual event where we do one horror movie a day for the entire month of October in celebration of Halloween. And we have the end of one of our through lines, The Bride of Frankenstein. It's from 1935. Don't let an old movie scare you. This one's a gem. We're going to get into it. Let's hit that music and go. Just want to thank you again for joining me. I'm Peter, AKAPAD, Peter A. DeLuca, your host, your horror expert, aficionado, obsessive geek, grown man. Yes, grown men can discover things later in life. And I feel in the last 2 years, with last year's 31 Days of Dread, the 2017 version, I discovered horror movies. And it wasn't until this year I was actually able to watch multiple horror movies without having the effects of the movie kind of get into my almost like consciousness. I just felt weird. I didn't feel right watching all of those movies a year ago, and now I guess maybe I understand the tropes and the beats and the different types of horror movies period so well. There's a high level of anticipation, and things just aren't catching me off guard as much as they did a year ago. Even gore on screen, I normally cringe. I can't watch like bloody things, and I'm much better at it. But look, if you've been with us, and I know a lot of you have, and I thank you so much because everything we've been doing for the 31 Days of Dread it's been working. Most of the social media accounts have grown, the analytics have grown, the streaming has grown, and getting into the social media and the things we can do through it. So you can reach out to me, you can talk to me, DM, comments, messages. There's all kinds of ways to reach me, and we can do that on Snapchat and Twitter at AKAPAD. Facebook and Instagram, aka Pad13, aka Pad69 on Xbox Live, because I'm always online playing Halo, because I love Halo. Halo is the only game I play. And then there's additional ways to support the show financially, because there's things I would love to do with extra funds, better equipment, always being the top one. Being able to travel, interview people, having people come here for interviews, and a little bit of a dish out to contributors that can, add some extra sauce to the show. Look, there's a Patreon. You can donate monthly to the show. And look, when you donate to me on Patreon, you also fund my original comic book work and you fund my YouTube work. So it's major. And you can also purchase products and services on Etsy. And these are products and services created by me. I have a history in logo design, web design. I somewhat, consultancy, like all of those things, because there's a wealth of knowledge. And I pour it out there, and I want everyone to be affected by creation, by creating something themselves. My journey with Dream Warriors podcast is no different than that. Where my passion and my love for this and everything else I'm doing on social media, the content I'm making, the social media is just a way for me to channel what I'm creating. But I have such a passion for it that I literally don't have an off switch. I don't have a filter when people are taking me away from it, and I definitely don't hold back when people make promises to me, and I later have to hound them or start to depend on them. Thanos said it right in Infinity War when he was looking at Gamora before he tossed her into that into that pit to get the soul stone. He stares right at her, and then this is right before he's about to kill her. So it's maybe the best scene in any of the Marvel movies. He says, "I denied my destiny once, not again." And he throws her in and gets the soul gem. And then I think at that point he goes to Titan and whoops some ass. But yeah, so that's really how I feel, with everything. And, like I've reached a point in life where, look, hey, having a stable 9 to 5 to cover everything definitely helps. There's other, businesses I'm involved in for revenue, ones that I operate and own. So, like we don't have that problem anymore. So I spend all of my spare time developing content, running around Philly like a maniac because, the Dream Warrior studio, the Dream Warriors home base is in Center City, Philadelphia, probably the greatest city in the entire world. Sorry, anyone that's listening worldwide, because I know we have a spike in international listeners, and oh my God, that alone drives me nuts because I love it. It just fuels me. Thank you so much for my international listeners. You guys are the props. High five to you. We're giving you a high five. But yeah, so to make you familiar with a little bit of who I am. And if you're new to the show, where did the 31 Days of Dread come from? I thought it would be very challenging to try a year ago. And my lack of knowledge and instinct of horror movies. And when I say instinct, I mean when you're watching and you're processing a movie for the first time, there's a level of instinct that works through you where you've seen this before, you smelled that before. You can see the beats of the story like as they're emerging, and there's like a more of an anticipation for what the hook and the gimmick is. And it took me like even a while to develop those instincts and really enjoy horror, just like have a good time watching it. I'm very joyful when I watch horror movies. I wasn't that way a year ago. I was actually tense and upset. And look, to show you guys, to illustrate what's happening, last year the 31 Days of Dread actually ran to, I believe, November 11th. Okay, this year the 31st episode, the 31st day of the 31 Days of Dread will drop on the 31st. Oh, excuse me, it is a Wednesday, and that is going to be a Netflix show, The Haunting of Hill House. So, and I can't wait to talk about that, because I literally, with a female friend, watched that entirely through. Sat down for 10 straight hours and watched it all the way through. I never did that before in my entire life. It blew my mind. But we're going to talk more about that tomorrow. And look, and give you a little bit of a sketch. We're doing this later at night. This is a 10 p.m. recording. And it's going to release before 12, so we'll have also, day 30 on day 30. So, we're talking The Bride of Frankenstein. Maybe like the first great sequel ever. And I didn't think that. This movie came out in 1935. Its predecessor in 1931. Universal Pictures tried to streamline a sequel, could not do it, couldn't get the story going, didn't get like a good script, couldn't get someone behind it. I think Frank Whale, right, that's our director, Frank Whale. James Whale. I'm sorry, James Whale eventually comes back and does it, and I think between the two, he worked in like a movie of his own. This is common. We saw this Michael Bay with the Transformer movies with Pain and Gain and the 13 Hours. It's the one for you, one for me attitude when we make deals. And that's the artist coming through. Even people like Michael Bay are artists. So they want to do, like every artist wants attention. So you want to do the Transformers, but then you need to itch that, you gotta scratch that itch. And that it's the, hey, I'm a meaningful artist itch. And every single artist goes through it, including myself. Not that I'm calling myself an artist. So The Bride of Frankenstein took traction, through the studio. It finally happened, and look, it became a hit movie. Iconic scenes, iconic scenes that were repeated, mimicked, mocked, made fun of, iconicized. It goes on and on. But after 1935, history was made. I call this maybe the first great sequel ever. It should be number one on the sequel list because people don't really put this movie in sequel arguments. Look, everything comes down to Scream. If you watch the movie Scream, and there's a conversation in the classroom, and they're talking about like it's like high school film class, and this is part of what made Scream great because there was a little bit of the meta Tarantino movie dialogue, like like the movie and the movie dialogue, and they're talking about sequels, and they're talking like Godfather 2, Terminator 2, and Aliens, and then someone's like, oh, someone's got a hard on for James Cameron. And those were like the sequels at all, and you throw in Empire Strikes Back. So one point, like in all of it, you had one, like you had. Let me slow down. At one point, we only had 4 sequels. We had The Godfather, Aliens, Terminator 2, and Empire Strikes Back. Okay. And the sequels, even at that point, like that, I would challenge because I'm like again always asking questions. Growing up, when I got into film, when I built my epic VHS collection before such a thing was such a thing, like I would kind of put, oh my god, total brain fart, RoboCop 2 in there, right? Great sequel. Caddyshack 2, I would put in there because and people hate Caddyshack 2. I don't know why. That movie cracks me up. But like through these like formative years, like I kept discovering sequels that I thought worked, that were fun, and at one point, like even make the Caddyshack 2 argument. It was almost like holy crap. Like I never even saw Caddyshack 1 for years. I always watched 2 over 1. I'm probably an outlier when it comes to that opinion. But and then like what happened was like sequels transformed, and they actually became useful. Okay, meaning that with X-Men 2, Spider-Man 2, The Dark Knight, it goes on and on. Hey, you can even argue. Look, both movies have trouble with the villain at the end, but the Tim Burton Batman and Batman 1989 and Batman Returns. There's so much about Batman Returns that I'm always more drawn to, and you can make that Superman 2, versus Superman 1. Like we're talking like a very fine line. And so the business of the sequel, the idea of the sequel, like emerged, and what happened was everyone started expecting sequels and expecting trilogy. So their expectations would go through the roof when sequels were announced. Look, Transformers: Revenge of the Fallen, Iron Man 2, these Matrix Reloaded, the Pirates of the Caribbean, the Dead Man's Chest, right? The second one. Like audiences continuously let themselves down on an epic standards. Now, those ones I just named, maybe outside the Matrix, because I really understand that people do not like the Matrix because that middle movie is really tough to follow, even though it has like fantastic action. All the other sequels are like, I think they're pretty solid. I love Iron Man 2. Iron Man 2 and Iron Man 1 work so well together. It's almost like one long movie, and there's tons of arguments I can make around Iron Man, around like the criticism. And this movie is very much the same. This movie picks up right where Frankenstein left off. So we have Frankenstein ends. It's the flaming windmill. The windmill crumbles, okay, and boom, we roll the credits, and this movie ends equally as abrupt. The lightning strikes the laboratory crumbles, and we cut to the credits, and the endings are so beautiful because it's just like boom, bang, we're done, we're out of here. It's no there's no remembrance, there's no reflection, there's no lesson. It is that it is over, and it feels like a ride. It literally feels like a roller coaster. The roller coaster just stops, and I like it. I would love to see some people return to that and experiment with it. Nowadays, everything ends with a sequel, and but this is a part of what makes perfect endings. Like it follows perfect ending. We really aren't sure if that monster is dead. It could be coming back. There's a movie called The Invitation, again leading into a sequel. Upgrade, again, fantastic movie leading into a sequel. The filmmakers today are so wise to this, and they perfect it, and they know how to use it, and I love seeing it. And again, too, like, audience expectations have shifted, so filmmakers are always leaving a door open for a part two. So this movie, okay, Bride of Frankenstein, as soon as the movie starts rolling, just visually, I mean, it looks just, again, like 4 years ago, it looks just like the 1935, looks just like 1931. It has the same visual flavor. Now, the first, I would say, 20 minutes of this movie are absolutely rough. It's hard to follow. There's new characters, new ideas, new concepts. And there's, like, revelations, and we'll just, look, those are platitudes, but it's kind of like, the movie kind of introduces these ideas of, like, super explained, like, movie science versus the movie science from the original. So Frankenstein, when he created Frankenstein's monster, the science is very loose. The creation of the monster is very loose, and that's where it works. Okay, that plays to the favor of the audience and to the filmmaker, because we're kind of filling in blanks and we're asking all these questions, and that's where so much of it is intriguing. With that being said, this movie over explains some of the newer science elements to the point where you're just like, huh, what? And look, there's a weird part in this movie where people are in glass jars, and they're fully formed people that were created through cell manipulation, and it's the God complex, it's the God argument that is prevalent in the Frankenstein lore and mythology, and we expect it. When we watch Frankenstein, we want the God argument. We actually want the presence of God within Frankenstein. That's what makes it resonate. That's what connects it to us, and we get a little too much of that. So, and we have like an over-the-top gypsy girl that's just like always screaming. I nearly stopped this movie a couple times. I had to try and watch it at least 3 times to get past like the first 20 minutes. Once the movie gets rolling, okay, and I completely like forgot about this because I'm so used to Young Frankenstein. But the blind man, the cabin, the violin, the music soothing the beast, the blind man being kind to the monster, teaching him words, showing him life, giving, like showing him that there's this other window, there's this other path. It completely moves the movie and solidifies it and crystallizes it and makes you forget about the beginning. And then, like, at that point, we're marching towards the creation of the bride and the reunion of Frankenstein and Frankenstein's monster. So, like, the movie's somewhat on the march. We have Frankenstein's monster in all of these newer, interesting positions. He's in different environments. He's in the cave. He's in water again. There's more interactions, and you feel sorry for the monster because you see that he's just being hunted. The entire country's looking for him, very much like the Invisible Man. Like, everyone's aware that this creature is out there, which again makes it so much more enjoyable. And the one thing that this movie does that did for me, I call it the Rocky IV effect. When people if you haven't seen a Rocky movie, you imagine it as Rocky IV. You imagine it as this bravado grinding, 22 500 round fight of guys just punching the crap out of one another, being jacked and being ripped. What we don't think of if we haven't seen the Rocky movies is Rocky 1, 2, and 3, which is the rise and fall of a champion, the loss of millions, so the loss of a relationship, and the connection towards people, and how fame manipulates and controls you, and actually takes more away at times than it gives. This is the hubris of the Rocky arc in 1, 2, and 3. It's probably one of the greatest trilogies. Rocky 2, also great sequel. Okay, going back to that sequel argument, I kind of prefer Rocky 2 over Rocky 1. I'm sorry. Rocky 1, 2, and 3, fantastic arc. Wrath of Khan too. I'm sorry, I'm going on and on here. Wrath of Khan, again, like early sequel discussion right there. But no, so when we think of a Frankenstein movie, we're actually imagining Frankenstein, the Bride of Frankenstein, and not Frankenstein, because the creature and the tortured soul of the creature and the acting and Boris Karloff is more Frankenstein in this movie than Frankenstein itself. Okay, this is a Frankenstein movie. Frankenstein, okay, 1932 is, or 1931 is it's a beginning. It introduces you these concepts, and the sequel pushes those concepts into a cultural realm, I'll say. By cultural, I mean like there's elements there that we immediately relate ourselves to. Okay, but yeah, so I don't know. I completely love this movie. I loved every single Universal monster movie that we had during the 31 Days of Dread. Going back to 2007, it was day 30. I did Dracula, then I did Stranger Things season 2. Dracula blew me away. This year, day 2 started. Day 1 I did The Purge, but day 2 I did Creature from the Black Lagoon. Then I did Frankenstein. Then I did The Invisible Man, and then Wolfman, Invisible Man, and then The Mummy, and then this. So now I'm like into these sequels. And look, I didn't make an episode of it, but I did even do the 1925 Phantom of the Opera, the silent movie, which is a 2-hour movie. I did that to understand more of the 1989 remake or update with Robert Englund, and that was also this year on the 31 Days of Dread. But no, to just be perfectly clear, there is so much to gain from these black and white Universal monster movies because they're minimal movies. They're pushing an hour, sometimes a little bit over, and they illustrate to us how little you need to tell a story, how little characters you need to tell a story, how little of a set you need to create your world in. And today, we got college kids with making green screen movies. Period. Okay, it's fantastic. So if you're into film, if you're into storytelling, if you're into creating things, these movies are a blueprint to how much you can do with very little. And look, I'll leave you guys with that. Go out there, create, just start something. Who cares if it turns out good or not? Just start something and put it out in the world. Start a Tumblr, create a Tumblr account, and just blog every day. Who cares? Hey, if you ever seen the Social Network movie, I love the part where Zuckerberg is live blogging as he's coding, or he's cracking into, he's hacking the entire network. Okay, it's a wonderful scene. I love it so much. It always inspires me. But look, everyone, tomorrow is the final day, day 31 of the 31 Days of Dread. We're going to do a conversation, one of the greatest horror stories I've ever seen, the greatest haunted stories I've ever seen. This one's going to be tough to top. Moving forward, probably for a very long time. It is in contention with American Horror Story Season 1, though, because I kind of like American Horror Story Season 1 a little bit. We're talking about that. Look, rock and roll. I love you. Until next time, until tomorrow. I'll see you. Hey, Dream Warriors, thank you for joining me. If you haven't been keeping track, if you haven't already read the headline of the